Hey everybody, my name is Chuck Black and welcome to my studio. Today we're going to be painting a landscape with a sun setting over a lake. And of course we're using golden fluid acrylics on a 16 by 20 inch stretch canvas. Now remember, if you'd like to support me, I auction off all the paintings I do on the videos here through my eBay, and that link can be found in the description below. And of course, if you like this video, please like and share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Alright, let's get started on our painting. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is take this T and find a horizon. I want that to be probably just above center. Maybe somewhere right in there. Yeah, that'll work. And the colors we're using today are titanium white, primary yellow, cerulean blue, carbon black, quinacridone red, and then cad red. And I'll have those in the description below. And I've got a round blender brush, which I usually start with. And I'm going to dip it in water. And what I'm going to do is start with where our sun's going to be. So I'm going to take some white. And I want that sun to be, maybe we'll put it off center just a little bit. How about right there? And then I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, just dab it on the brush, and that's going to be really rich. But before it dries, I'm going to kind of fade it into that white. We're going to keep going all the way until we got a little circle where that sun is. And that just kind of puts it in our mind where the sun's going to be. Alright, now I'm going to wash my brush. And real quick, if you guys don't know or you haven't already, I give away a free art print every week to one of my email subscribers. And all you have to do to sign up for a chance at winning each week is just click this card right here. Okay, so now I've got some white, some primary yellow, and a little bit of cad red. And we want to get some orange on our horizon above that line. We're just going to fade that in all over above that line and then into the yellow a little bit. I'm going to grab some more. We're going to do the same over here. There's a fair amount of water in here, but semi-dry. This is a very thin layer of paint. We just want to colorize we're almost glazing the canvas. Alright, now I'm going to wash my brush one more time. I'm going to start thinking about where our clouds are going to be. And I want, let's see, I want to have, let's grab some white and some black, a little bit of black. Just get some gray. And I'm going to pick up some cerulean blue and a little bit of the quinacridone. Alright. I'm going to dip my finger in water and just tap it. So I got a little water on my palette. Just get a little moisture in there. Okay, so now we're just going to block in some clouds. And I'm thinking we want maybe one right there. And maybe one right there. How about one covering kind of the top up here? Need to mix a little more of that color. A little more black, a little more blue, red. And I'm going to put a couple more clouds through here. And let's do maybe a couple way down here. And we'll have to adjust some of this, but it gets us started. Alright, I'm going to wash my brush. Kind of squeeze some of that water out, get it kind of cleaned. And let's just fill in a little bit more of that sky. Let's take some cerulean blue and white. Maybe just a dab of cad red. We just want just a little bit. Let's just get a little bit of that color on there. This will just help us out, kind of envision what we're doing. Alright, so we got that blue in there. Now let's grab a little bit of quinacridone and a little bit of white. And let's put a little bit of pink. Kind of in that transition zone. I'm just going to put some dabs and just kind of rubbing it around, just seeing how that looks. We're going to need some more white. There we go. It's kind of just a little bit of pink, a little bit of white. Add a little yellow in there too. Just kind of blending some of that out, just seeing how it looks for now. We're going to have to let a lot of this dry. Okay, so now let's wash that brush and we'll leave it. And I'm going to switch. This is a mop. This is a 1/2 inch mop. And it's kind of thin one side, thick the other. And I want to think about some trees here. So we're going to grab some red and some black. Maybe a little white in there. Some water. And I want to think about our tree line. We're just going to block in the silhouette of these trees, and maybe they'll kind of come up high around the sun and then kind of go down low right through here. And maybe come back up again. You can use a flat brush for this. You don't need any specific brush. You just need to be able to put on this general shape I use a lot of different brushes all the time, so it's never too critical. And we're just going to get that a little bit lower. And maybe I want those to come up a little higher. And we're going to want this side a little bit higher. As this comes down, we want these trees to get larger. So we're going to put some larger trees right there. Okay, now we want to put some more red in this mixture. This is kind of a reddish black. There's a little bit of the quinacridone in there. We're going to lay that underneath that black and kind of match that horizon. We're going to make a reflection. This will be the water, start of the water. It goes up higher right here, right there. So that's just a little bit lighter than that black. We want that to be just a little bit faded in the water. I'm going to wash the brush and I'm going to switch back now to that round blender. And I'm going to grab some white. And we're going to put a bunch of white kind of right in the middle. Not worrying about color, this is about tone. So this is an underpainting. Just worried about the contrast and what this is going to look like. So you got to use a little bit of your imagination. You got to envision this. All right, I'm going to grab some more white. I'm going to take my paper towel here. You can use a rag. I'm just going to dry, just pull that paint off, kind of the middle. Just so that this white doesn't mix as much. I'm going to add just some white, kind of right through the middle there. Just so we can kind of see where that sun's going to be. And I'm just going to keep pulling that all around. And then we're going to grab some more cadmium red. Get it on my palette. I'm going to grab the red, and the white, some yellow. We're going to take some of that red. Just go right through here. We're going to get that started. Just kind of fan some of that out. Not good enough to start. You can see how that sun's going to be glowing against those trees. So that little bit of red is what's really going to make the sun pop. So we're going to add more red as we go, and we can take a little more. We can try to brighten that up right now, but it's not too important. We're going to have to let all this dry, but this gets us a little closer, a little head start. All right. And what I'm going to do is take some yellow, some white, make that a little bit lighter. We're going to want to add, we'll work on some of the color down low here. I'm going to grab some red, a little bit of that darker mixture. Go even darker down low. Alright, so I'm going to finish this up. I'm just grabbing some of these reds and oranges, some of this mixture we made up for the trees. I'm just kind of mixing it all in there. It's all those same colors that are going to be kind of in the reflection, certain areas, sometimes not. So we're just getting a mixture of all those colors. But as I finish this up, I'm going to be letting this dry, and then we'll come back and we'll think about it and kind of work on a few more things. Get it kind of that next step. But this is a good underpainting. So let's let this dry. Okay, so now that we've let this dry, the first thing that I'm going to do is start thinking about what steps I can take to get this closer to a finished painting. And I'm going to start with the sky. And so let's start refining the sky. And this is just an idea of a sky. That's kind of what an underpainting is. Really just an idea of where you want to go. But it's not quite there yet. So we're going to take some white and some yellow and a little bit of cad red. Kind of make a good orange color. And let's start with our sun, and we want these clouds to really be glowing from that sun, especially the ones that are close down low here. And I think, all the undersides of these clouds are for sure going to have some of this glowing yellow color. We could break up some of this bigger cloud up here. Let's kind of use that orange. It's starting to get dry, but we still have some of that orange. Kind of use that for the color in the sky as well. Right through here. This is just putting a dry, thin layer of this color on. Kind of blend that around. Okay, and see what that did? Instantly it looks a whole lot better. So let's just keep going with that, and let's get some white, a little bit of yellow. This is going to be a little brighter. Let's add a few highlights to these clouds. Kind of fading out some of these trees a little bit. Start thinking about our horizon. You might want to even fade a little bit of this color down into here. We can colorize it with a glaze later, so this might be a good way just to lay down some sun rays. This is fairly dry, but there's enough paint to just coat a little bit on there, and I'm using less pressure as I go further away from the sun out here and applying a little more pressure as we get closer. And we can put some of that sun ray up here. This part really just depends on just some of your creativity, just anything that comes to mind. That's what I like about these fluid acrylics is you can kind of experiment. If we don't like it, we can cover it back up. But that at least brightens that area and we can start thinking about that. So now what I'm going to do is take a smaller brush and I'm going to use this 1/4 inch flat brush. I'm going to grab some white, mix it with that yellow. And this is just going to get us a little more precise. I'm going to just start going over the sky. Any areas that could use some highlights, the back sides of these clouds is what I'm looking at now. We'll switch colors as well. And I'm just kind of showing you some examples. I'll speed it up here in just a short while. But this is kind of how I'm going to be working the sky. Just grabbing some of that color. And it's going to get to be a little bit long because we're going to stick with a smaller brush. And if we use a larger brush, it'll be for glazing maybe a big wash of color. But everything else will start to get smaller and smaller. Just a little more focus on some of the edges, and just want things to tighten up a little bit in the sky. So I'm mixing kind of a blue with some black and some quinacridone. I get a good color established for the back sides of these clouds. I want it to be a little bit darker. So I'm grabbing some black and some blue in there. Just putting the idea of some shadows. We can always refine this stuff later in the process, but just kind of getting them on there right now. And I want to have some more clouds through there. Oh, that's a little bit too red. Now see, we made a good mistake there. If I pull my finger across, get most of that paint off of there. Kind of take some water with a napkin. Make sure I wash my brush, and that'll dry real quick. I'm going to grab the color we're going to use. Just kind of go right over the top of that. So I'm just going to think about where some broken up clouds might be. I'll add those, and I'll have to add some highlights to this as well. And I'm going to smooth things out, but I'll just keep working at this part. And then down low, I'll be using our little larger brush. I'm going to start working on the reflection. And the reflection is just going to be going back and forth from the lights and the darks. We'll start by taking just pure white. Go right below the sun. Center's going to be about right there. I'll just get some brighter paint. We want some of that to kind of drift down low here. And we're going to be just pulling colors from the sky for the reflection. So I'm going to take white, yellow, a little bit of red. We're going to start adding colors around that white. So now our underpainting kind of just serves as a good foundation, but we're really going to adjust all the colors, a lot of the tones. And we'll have to grab some more red and yellow, kind of get an orange color. We're going to want some of that orange color up in this area. And so I'm going to keep going back and forth from the water to the sky. And I'm just going to work on building those values, building those colors, using the same process that we've been using. And I'm just getting some red here and mix a darker color. I want some darks down through here. And with each layer, I'll probably move to a smaller brush. It's going to take a few layers. I'll probably move to a smaller brush with each layer, just tightening up all that detail. But we're using the same process throughout this whole part that's going to be sped up. So if you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section below, and I'll just slow it down when we get to maybe the trees. Okay, so I thought it'd be a good point to slow it down and just talk about what we've been doing. And I know it looks like we have a mess, but I'm not really looking at any of this area down here yet. I'm looking at the sky, and we just darkened the blue through the clouds. The sky itself we darkened, and that kind of washed away our clouds. And I want this to be a lot darker, I realized, because I want the sun to really pop. So because we darken that sky, everything gets kind of mushy. So we're going to darken the clouds. We're going to take some black and some white, and we'll grab some cerulean blue, a little bit of the quinacridone, but not much. We're going to get a darker color. I'm going to grab some more blue. that to be rich. This will be a good start. All right. That's looking a whole lot better. Now we can really start to see everything laid out how it should be, and we can kind of see what we're after. So now what I'm going to do is just work on saturating a lot of the colors. I of course want to add some more highlights. I'm going to wash my brush good, and I'm going to keep working at the sky. We're going to take some yellows. Some red, kind of an orange. I'm going to start intensifying some of these colors. We'll add some quinacridone maybe in this area, kind of blend that into this bluish color. And we're going to take some red along with a little bit of yellow. You want some of this area to start blending in. So we're going to rub some red along the outside. It'll get more yellow towards the inside. See how that instantly starts to set that sun in just perfectly. I'm just going to get some more red. This will take a few layers, little baby steps. We'll get some more red on there. And I'll just kind of keep working at that, and then we'll slow it down again when I'm ready to work on the trees themselves. Okay, so now I like the sky a lot better. We've just been doing the same thing over and over, and we've pulled out the smaller brush. We started adding some small highlights, and that really made everything pop. And there still needs to be some work done on the sky, but I like to switch to something new just to kind of get a new perspective on things. So let's work on those trees. And I'm going to take 2 of these round brushes, and you could use a flat brush. I just prefer the round blenders or the scrumbling brushes. And we're going to pull this red back first things first. So we're going to take some black. We're going to grab the one brush, get some black on there. And I'm going to go right along the bottom edge. And then take this other brush. Just start fanning that out. Just kind of a glaze of black. Right along the bottom. Kind of that outer edge, and then just fluffing it out. And we'll go a little bit thicker. Want to cover a little more some of these spots. There'll be a little bit of that red showing through, but we want to be very subtle. And then really blend nicely into the reds and yellows. All right, so that's looking pretty good. It's a little bit odd shaped, but it's much closer to what we're after. So we'll leave that just for now, let that dry. And then I'm gonna go across the top of these trees. I wanna start adding, maybe I'll take a fan brush and I'm gonna grab some red and some black. Kind of just a really dark red. And I'm going to just pick that up with my fan brush. And I want just some random brush. We're just going to throw in some random spots. I'm just getting some water on my brush. I'm mixing a little more. This is just adding some texture. Some of this will be covered up, some of it will be left. You can use all kinds of different brushes to add different types of texture. It depends what kind of trees you want. This is just adding texture a little bit faster than I could do with something different. I'm gonna fluff some of that out. Maybe some spots will be a little taller. Maybe right through there we got a tall spot. That just adds another dimension that really starts to look like some actual trees now. And that wasn't a whole lot of work to do. It's kind of just automatic. And we're not done, but this is exactly what we will be doing to get it all wrapped up. Now what I'm going to do is just take some black. Just get a lot on there. I want to really darken this tree line. Just get a base of black. Kind of fluff that out a little bit towards the top. We're going to want to add more detail to this tree line. And we might even have to switch to something smaller. This is a round brush, a number 6. And we could start adding some more detailed trees in there. Maybe some different types of trees, pine trees. The big old pine that lives over here. Another one right there. I'm going to pick up a little more red this time. Looks like it's a little bit further back towards the sun. I'm just going to stick with this pine tree theme. I'm just going to mix them in. Get some more water on my brush. Want it to flow real nice. And with this same red color, we can start adding more detail down into the tree line here. Just a few spots, just maybe some light that's just kind of escaping through, showing up just down low. It's real subtle, but it does make a difference. And maybe there'll be, we'll slip a couple trees down low here. Kind of break up those sun rays, and we'll adjust those sun rays a little more too. So I'm going to keep going just like this, and I'll work on those trees. I'll add a few more trees, but process is the same. And if you have questions about that, I'm always happy to answer. But now I'm going to keep going on the water down here. And what I'm going to want to start doing now is colorizing this. And once I start colorizing it, then I'll have to refine the tones, probably even more so. But first things first is we've got to get the correct colors on here. And so all I'm going to do, get a clean brush. So I'm going to start picking up colors from the sky. So we got oranges. So I'm going to grab some yellow, and I'm going to have to grab some more red. We're getting a messy palette. Sorry about all that. And we'll get some reds and some oranges. Lighten that up just a little bit. And we'll want to add some water. I'll get some water on my finger and just kind of get some moisture in there and start thinking about where these colors might exist in the water. And watch it just start to come alive. Watching those whites, we want to leave a little bit of that white. The only white that we want in the water is going to be right up top here. Everything else is going to be colorized slightly. So I'll work on glazing these colors, and then like I said, once I glaze, I'll switch back to some thicker colors, and maybe I'll add some different shadows. We want to just keep going back and forth and just tightening up everything in the water and in the trees. And then I think at some point we'll be ready to call this a completed painting. I'll slow it down as I'm wrapping up a few more details. Okay, so this has kind of been a long process going back and forth from the sky and the water and then the sun, but it's starting to look really good. And so, again, if you have questions about what I just did, please leave them in the comments below. But I've ended up putting a little more time in this than I expected because this is really turning into also a great study on the water. So, as we're doing the water, we're kind of getting all this color pushed up against the trees, and it's starting to match the actual tree line. So now we need to start refining that transition. I thought this would be a good point to slow it down, just show you a couple things that I can do as we begin to finish this painting up. So the first thing is, let's just intensify that sun a little bit. And we're not going to touch the sun. We're actually going to go up to the furthest point away from the sun. So these corners, maybe right up in here. And we're going to grab, I'm going to take, this is Prussian blue, and it's a little more transparent when you glaze. So if I add water to it, it does cover well, but if we add water to it, it's a great transparent color. It's a really rich, deep color, and we can take that, and then I'm going to add a little bit of the red. And that's going to be a pretty watered down, it's a very rich color. We're going to apply that right behind some of these clouds. And then I'm going to take a second brush which has a little bit of moisture, and I'm really going to spread that out. And that's just putting on a transparent glaze. And we can put a little bit along the edge right here. And as I intensify this, you'll notice the sun starts to pop out at you more because we're bringing that focus towards the sun. And the sun itself, at this point, is made up of probably 6 or 7 glazes. And I let each one dry in between. And I just was glazing red. I would glaze some orange and bring it out. And then I would take red and kind of fade that into the black. And I did that over about 5 or 6 times. Okay, so now this is a pretty dark color up top here. We can fade a little bit of that into those clouds, those highlights. Just kind of dull everything down a little bit. Way up high. You see how that just little bit starts to bring just brings your attention down here, and that's just keeping the focus on the sun. So let's work on a couple of these trees. So I'm going to take, we can put away that large brush. I'm going to take this as, again, the smaller round brush, and we're going to grab, we want to pull, black is close, but we can add some red, a little bit of yellow. There's a fair amount of water in that, and we want to just start back and forth. Small motions. We want to just start building up that match of that tree line above. So we've got a round spot up here. So we want to put that somewhere down in here, and it doesn't have to be perfect. We can, because it's water, we can kind of go back and forth, make little random motions. And when we finish with this dark color and bringing that out, we can switch back to the light colors. We can make some corrections. But I never stress too much about it. I just go back and forth like I've always said, and that just makes painting a little more fun for me. Not as stressful. We can bring that color kind of into the edges here, but we don't want it right in the middle. We want to leave that kind of red. But bring it in close, just kind of fade it out right there. This has got a little more water. That gives us a little bit harder edges. And that's kind of good for water too. We're just adding some small details now. You can cover up some of these lighter spots back up in here. I want it to be pretty dark as you get close to the horizon right there, the shoreline. So that's starting to look a lot better. Some of these areas right through here could be lightened up a little bit, but we're gonna let it dry first. It's just a good base. We're just worried about the value. We're not worried about the color, I always say, so we're just worried about the shape. It's a pretty good shape. We can fade that right in this area, but we'll let it dry. And then I'll kind of work at the sun, and we're really beginning to wrap up this painting. And I may put some more red, maybe through this area. I'm gonna have to get some more red. There's just a little bit on the brush. I'm just trying this out, putting a little bit on the edges through here. This is kind of just glazing some red. We're just trying to make that reflection match whatever's above, just a little bit more. That adds the realism. So we'll work on that a little bit more, and we'll have to glaze some more colors. But for the most part, that's pretty much all there is to it. We'll grab some yellow and a little bit of red. We'll glaze some brighter orange, yellow. That intensifies it even more. And as this stuff dries out here, what we would do is take some blue, and I'll just show you a little bit. We still want it to dry a little bit more. I would take some blue, some red, some white. I'll grab some yellow. And what we're going to do is dip our paintbrush and then dab it off. We want a lot of that color to be off of there. We just want a little bit of that color. So it's just a little bit on the brush there. This is just a good neutral color to work on our values, not necessarily the finished result. It's not going to be the finished color. This is just lightening those areas I talked about, and we'll let it dry more. That already looks a lot better. Those tree reflections. Okay. So I'm going to let this dry a little more, and then I'll wrap up a few more details, and we'll talk about it at the end. So even though I love this painting so far, I think we can do a little bit better. So I'm thinking we might add some shoreline here. So I'm just gonna kind of go for something here, and I think I'm gonna take some yellow, a little bit of red. We're gonna add some grass. Yellow, red, white. And then we might pick up a little bit of black. It's kind of a duller color, kind of an orange. Yeah, we're just gonna go for a piece of shoreline right through here. Kind of blend that bottom down a little bit. We'll grab some quinacridone red, pick that up on the brush, and some black. This is a darker color. We'll just fade that up into that color. Just right through there. I'm going to take some black. Start low. Just imagine a shoreline right through there. We'll kind of go back to that original color over in here. Just kind of blend, so we can blend that black in a little bit better. And we're gonna want to fix this. Something's not right about this. I think what we can do, get some water, pick up some more color. I think what we can do is just bring that down, cut that part off. What I'm going to do is pick up our 1/4 inch flat brush. And we can grab some more yellow and red. Get some orange, get some white and black in there. Kind of dull it back. Want it to be a little bit subtle. Got this dull orange. Trying to get a little more red in there. a little more white. And I'm just going to start building some texture up. A little bit lighter color. I'm just kind of mixing a darker color. Fix that point a little bit more. We're just laying down the idea of some of this grass going to be here. So that already is starting to look like a pretty good shoreline. And it didn't take much at all, did it? So we can do a lot of cool stuff. It's really easy to enhance a painting. I'll keep working at this. I'm going to add some black. And we might want to put something in here, maybe a big tree. How about something nice and big? We're going to get some more water, and I'm using that same flat brush. We'll do a pine. It'll go right up through there. We'll add one more. Maybe we'll do a smaller one. And we're going to want some darker shadows down through here. Well, we got that black. Of course, there's going to be some shadows behind that tree trunk down there. And then all we're going to want to do from here is just add highlights. We're going to take yellow and red and some white. We're going to start lightening that side of the tree. This is kind of a light, dirty brown. We can add a little more texture to these highlights later too. Just getting them started. And so we'll cover some trees in an upcoming video. I just wanted to show you, and we can kind of do this one as well. I wanted to show you how I make these adjustments in these paintings, just to kind of get the painting that I want. I just thought a shoreline like this with some trees, and I'll add a couple branches. This will just be something to look at, something to distract you from anything else. And then I'm going to wrap up this part, and then we'll have a completed painting. Well, I think we're going to call that a completed painting. This got to be a little more elaborate than I had originally expected, but I'm really happy with the outcome. I had a lot of fun doing this. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember, if you have questions, leave them in the comments section below. And of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my website and my eBay store in the links below as well. Until next time, happy painting, everybody.